welcome to Laments. I am Sharon Ijason. On this week's edition of the program, we'll be focusing on workers in the public sector and their welfare. We also have news stories for you. We will be right back. The Nigerian Labour Congress and the Trade Union Congress of Nigeria have issued a 14-day ultimatum to the federal government over the non-implementation of the 16-point agreement both parties reached after the removal of the petrol subsidy. In a statement signed by the leaders of the two labour unions, Joe Ajero and Festus Osifo, the organized labour expressed sadness that despite the passage of time, that majority of these crucial agreements remain unmet or negligibly addressed, indicating disregard for the principle of good faith, welfare, and rights of the Nigerian workers. The organized labour said it is giving the federal government 14 days from February 9th to February 14th, 2024 to fulfill its part of the understanding with the labour unions. It's called on the federal government to honor its commitments without delay.
Workers in Nigeria are gearing up for a showdown with the government. Nigeria's two labour centres issued a 14-day notice for the authorities to meet the agreement between both parties or risk nationwide strike. The Nigeria Labour Congress and the Trade Union Congress, in a joint statement, accused the government of not fulfilling its side of the bargain. Government disagrees at this news conference. The Minister of Labour and Employment, Nkiruka Onyejiocha, acknowledges the pains in the land, but she says the Tinubu government is working round the clock to ease the pains.
The government would also like to bring to the public's attention to the 37-member tripartite committee on national minimum wage, which was recently inaugurated to recommend a new national minimum wage for Nigerian workers, all in a bid to mitigate the hardship the Nigerian citizens are facing now.
Our appeal is that Nigerians should be a bit more patient as the gains get visible.
The government is actively implementing its plan to go green with the implementation of the presidential CNG initiative designed to alleviate the challenges arising from subsidy removal and transition Nigeria permanently to cheaper, safer, and more reliable gas produced domestically for transport.
The minister announces government's plans to meet with organized labour as she insists the agreement is being implemented.
I've given 14 days of ultimatum like they have done. What I've done today is to reassure Nigerians, to reassure them also that yes, we signed an agreement. We are not saying we didn't sign an agreement, but we started implementing those agreements. And I've just read all the ones we've done. And the ones, these agreements, all of them are not going to be done same day. Like some can be done in 2 months, 3 months, 4 months.
Among the steps being taken by the government, as highlighted by the minister, is the procurement of 11,500 compressed natural gas vehicles, including buses and tricycles, to be rolled out at concessionary rates in fulfillment of Mr. President's promise.
5 months after Ondo State government issued a circular for the payment of hazard allowance to medical doctors in the state civil service, the issue remains unresolved. The failure of the state government to effect the payment and other issues forced doctors in the state to issue this latest ultimatum. The state government has 7 days to pay the hazard allowance of members of the Nigerian Medical Association (NMA) or face an indefinite strike. The doctors who currently earn 5,000 naira as hazard allowance urge the state government to effect the payment without further delay.
The Congress also resolved to give an ultimatum of 7 days to the government of Ondo State to implement the approved hazard allowance for health workers. This being the lowest hanging fruit. That failure to implement this after the expiration of the 7 days ultimatum, the relative industrial harmony in the state health sector shall no longer be guaranteed.
Among other things, the doctors want the state government to address shortage of health personnel implement grade level 13 step 2 as a point of entry for medical doctors and address the disparities in doctors' salary.
The Congress resolved that the huge disparities in the salaries of doctors in Ondo State civil service and oil-producing states, and that of the neighboring states, especially Ekiti State, created out of Ondo State and in a non-oil-producing state, should be looked into with a view of bridging the gap without further delay.
The association vowed to reconvene after expiration of the ultimatum, after which the relative industrial harmony in the state health sector will no longer be guaranteed.
The National Assembly is warming up for another round of alterations to the 1999 Constitution. Norge has been in the forefront of autonomy for local government administration and has, in collaboration with organized labor, embarked on advocacy visits to the national and state parliaments. In the last constitution review exercise, despite endorsement by the National Assembly, its effort failed to yield results as the bills did not get the needed support of 2/3 of the 36 states' houses of assembly. The union uses the occasion of its National Executive Council meeting to address some important national issues as they affect its members and Nigeria. Norge hopes the bid for local government autonomy will scale through this time.
Norge is resolute because we realize Nigerians deserve a functional local government system. We therefore urge the National Assembly to reintroduce the passage of the bill and call on Mr. President to show political will and show his political support.
Other issues of concern to the union, including security, establishment of community police in all local government areas, and the state of the economy.
We emphasize the necessity for collaboration among federal, state, and local government authorities, as well as active involvement of traditional/community leaders and religious heads in developing a comprehensive strategy to combat insecurity in Nigeria.
It makes a case for a new minimum wage and a review of pensions.
We therefore call on federal government to prioritize establishing CNG conversion centers, minimum of 3 per state in all the states across the federation, whereby motorists can go to convert their PMS consuming vehicle to a CNG compliant vehicle.
The union appeals to the government to attend to its areas of concern in order that the local government system will have a pride of place in the nation's development.
One is that if you come to in a company where there is no constant electricity supply, then of course you know that even those who are using electricity to work and who believes in technology cannot perform very well. Then you look at the issue of funding. Funding is very critical. Most companies are not being funded because one is that they are not even making the money they require. Government equally need to create an enabling environment. The government need to provide those amenities that can be cheaper and that can equally help them to sustain most of the resources that they have. Then also talk about capacity building. Capacity building is very key in everything you are doing. People need to develop themselves, and if you don't develop themselves, of course, you definitely have a retarded memory. So if you don't have those who can train the trainers, it's definitely going to affect those who doesn't have the capacity and the required skills to be able to sustain what is happening, and they will go outside the country to go and look for those who can be able to train them. So we also need research. Research is very important. When you involve in research, it can help you to be able to understand the new methodology in everything that you do, and that will help you to upskill whatever things you are doing. It's very pathetic that Nigerians is losing a lot of them, and we can't continue this way. So government need to sit down to look at all these things, provide all the resources that we need. We have the resources in Nigeria. We have the human and the material resources that we need for us to be able to, bring these people back or keep those ones that are still here.
Most people just want to leave the country, and since their skill set they are required outside, it's all about remuneration. So if you pay them well here, they will still remain. But the long run is that they want to move out. So can we import these skills back? Maybe through their kids, we don't know. But I think there's a lot that needs to be done to make the country safer, because that is the major thing that is scaring people out, is security.
On the profile interview segments this week, I'll be speaking with the National President of the Association of Senior Civil Servants of Nigeria. He brought us up to speed on activities that is happening in the civil service sector, while also emphasizing on the need for the federal government to redeem its promise towards ensuring that wage award is paid to workers. I seem to still be saying Happy New Year in February.
First meeting in a year is Happy New Year.
So, Happy New Year to you, sir.
And same to you.
It's nice
we
seeing
meeting
you
for the first time. So,
and it's nice seeing you once again.
Nice seeing you too.
A lot has been happening in the world of work, and you represent workers in the public sector. And there's been this complaint as regards delay in the payment of salary. I think it's been happening since November, December. I don't know if you have anything to say about this development.
Well, let me say that salary is the right of any worker. The salary is the right of any worker. And as we speak today is
February.
6th of February, thank you. We receive a lot of complaints from our members that they have not been paid their salary, which is not good enough. Not good for the worker, not good for the economy. The reason being that it is when the workers are paid that the informal economy strive. Because when they are paid, the bank will also have money to spread around, then the informal economy will also boom. But it looks as if the economy is stagnated because of this. I feel that the Minister of Finance and Coordinating Minister of Economy should be blamed because he understands the enormity of workers not paid salary. And come to think of it, what excuse do government have not to do that? They have removed the first subsidy, the organized labor, abide by that. The workers abide by that. Then to pay the workers' salary becomes a problem. It shouldn't be so. It shouldn't be so. I think the government needs, to retrench from delayed in payment of salary because it's a recipe for industrial arrest.
Still talking about payment of salaries or wage award, the federal government announced wage award. How has the payment been? Is it also being delayed like the regular salary?
It's a tall dream. These are issues that government shouldn't toy with. For one, if the organized labor did not accept the removal of fresh subsidy, it would have been a different ballgame. But they accepted and entered into negotiation with the government and agreed, not under duress, to pay 35,000 wage award. But as I speak, they have only successfully paid September and October. It therefore means that November, December, January, and this is February, is still outstanding. What are we saying? Is government really walking the talk? No. It's one thing to say something, another thing is to act and do it. So the workers are not just complaining, they are bitter. They are bitter about it. And it is not good for a government that want to win the confidence of the workers. I think Mr. President needs to also ensure that those of his managers of the economy live up to expectation, because there's no moral or legal justification that you enter into agreement. I remember Mr. President saying that whatever he said he will do, he's going to do it. So what is holding on? The transportation is skyrocket. The cost of living is imaginable skyrocket. I mean, how do you expect workers to even go to work? No salary, no payment of wage award, nothing.
So what's been the feedback at the state level? We know at the federal level this is a challenge. What are your members at the state level? What's the response?
At the state level, I lack the adjective to describe what is going on today at the state level. If at federal level, the workers are, behaving the way it is and they are being tormented, is it the states that look on to federal government? It is a story state. And we feel that both federal and state government, they should live up to the expectation of the masses.
Last week, the federal government inaugurated the committee to set up a new national minimum wage. I wouldn't know what the timeline will be. What should Nigerians be expecting? You're one of the members of this committee. What is your message to your members?
We are trying to come up with a work plan, to look at the time frame and to look at what will be expected. But I can say in summary that the new national minimum wage will be based on the economic realities and the cost of living. So taking that into cognizance, it therefore means that the committee will do a thorough job not to disappoint Nigerian workers and Nigerians as a whole. And I think government will also look at it from our own point of view, because we are like what you can call, the gatekeepers. We are closer to the people, we are closer to the workers. If we are not a worker, we will therefore have people at home that, also carry along. So basically, Nigeria will not be disappointed, because when you look at the capacity of the chairman and also the capacity of the secretary, you listen, because these are gentlemen in their own regards that understand how things work. I think Nigerian workers will smile at the end of it. But I also want to say this: let government be sincere and come with open hands. Is give and take, and that is a collective bargaining, so that they will not be rigid to unnecessarily delay the process. For us, organized worker, we are organized labor. We are coming with our position. We are looking and defending our position. And if government come with their position and also see how we can cross-fertilize the idea with with organized labor, I think it will not be an effort in fertility.
Is there a particular minimum of cost that Nigerians should be expecting? I know that there was a time that Labour was saying 200,000 naira. Now it's out there that it's 400,000 that should be the minimum.
We've never said 400,000. Then when we were talking 200,000, you look at, there was nothing like what is happening now. Petrol as at that time was still under 400, and now is 660. Then the foreign exchange as at that time was about 700. The inflation was below 18%, but it's now 29%. So when you put all these, and the cup of Gary as at that time was 200 naira. So the cup of Gary now is about 500 naira. So by the time you put that into consideration, put a loaf of bread that is about 150 naira now, 1,500 naira, and put even Indomie. So when you put aggregate of this together, the transportation costs, the housing rent, the cost of building material now, you know, I mean, putting aggregate of this, that will be a determinant of what we put on the table as a minimum wage. And I know government will consider it because they are also involved.
The International Labour Organization announced that there will be a rise in unemployment globally. How should the Nigerian government be reacting to these developments? And what has it been in the civil service in terms of employment of workers, owing to the fact that we've had a lot of people actually exit the system?
You know, one funny aspect of it is that whenever there's issue on, you know, unemployment rate and so on, the labor market is you know, some people will say that is not true. But let me say this with all sense of responsibility. There's no day people don't retire from service, either by age, by years of service, or even death. But filling this gap has been a slow space, and that created opportunity for people who leave university with good ideas not to come in. Secondly, even those people who were engaged feel that because the pay is too small, they can no longer remain, you know, in employment, and they apply the Jackpot syndrome. So it is incumbent on the government to fill in this gap. But because bureaucracy have taken the turn, they have to do it, due process has to follow and so on. That alone becomes a process. But we feel that government should open this space. They should look at the National Directorate of Employment, because among agencies of government that the military handed over to the civilian administration, I can tell you that the National Directorate of Employment have a structure all over the state that can build capacity and also improve upon by establishing finishing school, which will give Nigerian an edge and make a lot of young school leavers employers of labor. You know, instead of going into the window of borrowing money and then talk about conditional cash transfer, which they have discovered. That is all the rules. That will address the issue of unemployment. Because if care is not taken, in 2024 that we are now, is going to be catastrophic. And there should also be a rethink about the National Youth Service Scheme. If it is not been working for many decades, government should have to redefine and then redirect this scheme. We can, all members, I said it with all emphasis, all members of the scheme can go into mass agriculture. But one thing they need to check is insecurity.
Yeah, that moves us to insecurity.
Yes.
Insecurity in the country, we've heard a lot of people being kidnapped, paying huge sum of money that people do not really have. We've even seen some people actually contribute, raise funds, just to ensure that a particular person or their loved one is being rescued. Has there been any instance or reports that workers have been kidnapped?
It's uncountable, because if you are not infected, you will be affected. If you are not affected, you will be infected. Because one, a worker is responsible to family members. It therefore means that if a family member is kidnapped today, they look onto the worker, not minding whether he has the money or not, because of African context of big brother or be a brother's keeper. So it is a concern. All what the security architecture are doing are just try and error. They have not been able to scope and apply the intelligence of their expertise to ensure that these kidnapping are need before. How will you be reactive? Every time until they catch people, kidnap people, then they will be running around to go to forest and comb. No. What is the extent of name number? What is the extent of registering your phone number? You can sit down and track the conversation anywhere. These people are not just sitting down and planning, they are calling networking. So if you cannot track conversation, why are you there? Why are we paying you for security of life and property? And nothing is done by that. Today they have moved from the north, they are now in the west, in the east, everywhere. So the country is already submerged by these people, and they made it. I say this, they made it a very lucrative business. I think that the managers of our fiscal policy and monetary policy should think a way out. Once that is addressed, this insecurity, even those who are in the service manipulating those outside to act as if they are angels. Police then used to have what they call mark money. What happened? That they cannot mark money and give to these people? And when you are reporting this crime to security agencies, they are the people that will say, well, you people have to go and do something. Why? Do something like what? I think they need to think scientifically how to address this issue. Otherwise, there's no basis of being in government. And there's no government without security of life and property. There's no government. So government needs to know. And if by peradventure, whoever is in charge is not doing well, Mr. President has the powers. He can hire and he can fire.
Thank you very much for your time.
Thank you.
And that's all we can take on today's edition of the program. Join us next week for a fresh edition of the show. I am Sharon Ijatson. Thanks for watching, and remember that labor creates wealth.
Martin Luther King Jr. was